In the Lexus cinematic universe, the letter F, named for Japan's Fuji Speedway, is to Lexus in the way that M is to BMW, AMG is to Mercedes, S to Audi, Shelby for Mustangs, and Zora references to Corvette aficionados. In other words, the F moniker and its F Sport siblings are the standard bearers for Lexus performance, dynamics, and handling. New for 2021, we have a special edition Lexus calls the best F ever. That's right, the 2021 Lexus RCF Fuji Speedway Edition. It's the quickest new Lexus you can buy this year, a 1 of 60 limited edition luxury coupe engineered to straddle the line between track focus and street compliability. It boasts a 5-liter naturally aspirated V8 under the hood, the venerable 2UR GSE pumping out 472 peak horsepower and 390 foot-pounds of torque. Mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is good for a sub-4 second 0 to 60 run, and there's a bunch of track goodies included as well. All for the low price of $97,000, or as equipped with the triple beam LED headlights, the Mark Levinson nav audio sound system, and intuitive parking assist, $102,510. Ouch. There's no doubt this special edition RCF is quick, comfortable, and attractive, but is it really worth 6 figures? Let's find out together. In almost every Fuji Speedway Edition review, or last year's track edition, which is mechanically identical but featured different exclusive exterior colors, journalists are quick to point out that you can snag an RCF for a starting price of $65,000, and that the Fuji Speedway Edition isn't worth a $35,000-ish plus or minus premium. And in that context, I agree. But even though it's outfitted with the same engine and transmission, the standard RCF doesn't include most of the track goodies that you're going to find on the Fuji Edition, which is probably actually fine for most people. If you want a quick luxury coupe, check off a few boxes, and you can get the standard RCF, which is nice and quick, for about $75,000 with a few options. But if you tick off the right options to make the standard RCF more track-oriented, better wheels and tires, carbon package, etc., you're actually spending about $86,000. So in my mind, the question isn't whether the RCF Fuji Speedway Edition is worth a $35,000 premium over the RCF. It's whether or not this particular model is worth about $10,000 to $15,000 more than what you'd be paying for a high-performance RCF. Still a big jump, but here's everything that you get for the money. Carbon ceramic brakes, an exclusive circuit red interior with red carbon fiber trim that looks totally cool, I think, lighter wheels, carbon fiber hood, carbon fiber rear wing, unique suspension tuning, a mechanical Torsen rear differential. It's of course a 1 of 60 limited edition vehicle. Lexus throws in a special watch, and the whole thing weighs a little over 200 pounds less than the standard RCF. So this one comes in at 3,781 pounds. So I guess the question is, are all of those things worth a $15,000 premium? And that's really going to be up to you, but I have to say that between the brakes and the hood and the rear wing, those are a lot of expensive aftermarket options if you were to do it yourself. So I guess it's not a terrible package when you compare it to a high-spec RCF. Obviously, if you're just looking for something that is not track-focused, the standard RCF is still going to be a better value. Subjectively speaking, the RCF isn't my favorite looking Lexus overall. I think the lower trim models look a little kind of tall and a little nose heavy, but I really like the way the RCF Fuji Speedway Edition looks with the extra carbon fiber bits, rear wing. I love the Lexus Swoop daytime running lights, the muscular fenders, black and polished wheels, and of course, like I just said, the wing really fits this car in my humblest opinion. On the inside, it's another gorgeous Lexus interior. Lovely touch surfaces, intricate and delicate stitching, and I'm a huge sucker for red interiors. The front buckets are comfortable and well bolstered for high-speed cornering, and they're even power adjustable, but Lexus has deleted the heated and ventilated option, which I find strange in a $100,000 car. Rear seat room is pretty cramped for adults. I'm 6 foot tall and my head is hitting the ceiling, and this is me trying to sit behind my seating position. It definitely could work in a pinch, but for shorter passengers, my 5-year-old daughter has been sitting behind the passenger seat here and has a surprising amount of legroom. Unfortunately, the rear seats do not fold down, which dings practicality a touch compared to some other cars. Lastly, for those familiar with the Lexus driving experience, you might be surprised that road noise is much more noticeable thanks to less sound deadening materials. They needed to drop that weight. And so what you won't be surprised about is that Lexus has carried over its trackpad touch interface for its infotainment system, which is probably my least favorite on the market. Still, the premium Mark Levinson sound system sounds excellent for a sports car. Lexus engineers have mostly succeeded at building a sports car that's smooth on the streets and eager to launch when pushed, with that torsion rear end really making the RC almost feel like it has a rear steer option. Woo! I mean, the seats are grippy, and it's quick. However, although my overall driving experience with the RCF is positive, I don't love the way Lexus tunes its throttle response as well as its titanium quad-tip exhaust. More specifically, the accelerator pedal can feel a little bit mushy just as you're tipping into it. You combine that with an almost silent exhaust unless you're romping. But in fact, I think of mostly what you're hearing inside the cabin is actually pumped in induction noise and not exhaust noise like you'd hear on the LC500. And so what's odd about it is that the whole kind of throaty, grunty exhaust kind of race car feel to it doesn't really come alive until 3.5, 4,000 RPM. So it almost feels like a car with turbo lag despite having a naturally aspirated V8. And so it's kind of not engaging, and then all of a sudden engaging, and then you're breaking the speed limit, so you can't really go much faster anyways. It's just odd. You can't really feel it, you can't really hear it, and then it's suddenly roaring away, and it makes pedal modulation just a little bit challenging. Even more disappointing from kind of an overall immersion quality is that the RCF doesn't crackle and pop in most modes when you downshift. There's no rev matching feature unless you're in full manual mode. By contrast, when you're driving the LC500, the coupe, or the convertible, it's such an immersive, rewarding experience. Every stoplight is made better with a quick flick of the paddle, and it blips and burbles, and it just feels like an exotic race car, even though it's much heavier, in kind of a much bigger, and it's only a Grand Tourer. This car is just a little bit more quiet and reserved and silent, and I wish you could bring out the race car. Being a guy that comes from American sports cars, seeing what the folks at Chevy and Ford in particular have done recently, I love the way that you can program the various Mustangs or the Camaros and the Corvettes with different exhaust volumes depending on your needs. Quiet mode, a neighbor mode, a kind of a medium mode, and a loud mode. And I really wish that Lexus allowed you to tune the car a little bit more specifically to your needs. Pick your steering, pick your throttle, pick how the engine responds, and pick your exhaust, pick your suspension. You can do a little bit of that. There's a custom mode, but the only thing you can do, it says power for one, comfort or sport suspension, and then there's also an eco or comfort climate control version. I'm not really sure even what that does. Speaking of suspension, the RCF handles admirably, carving corners, feeling much lighter than its 3,781 pounds, and wonderfully balanced and nimble. Switching between normal and sport modes, it definitely kind of softens and stiffens up the suspension, which I really like. I was doing normal modes while going through downtown Los Angeles, and then once I got out to the smoother roads of the Angeles Crest National Forest, I was able to put it in sport mode and enjoy kind of the tighter feeling. Is the Fuji Speedway Edition an awesome sports coupe that is super fun to drive on the canyons and comfortable to drive around town as a daily driver? Very much so. This is an awesome car and I love driving it. However, is it worth $100,000? And that's where I'm less certain, to be honest. If you handed me $100,000 tomorrow and said, go buy a sports car, I'd probably lean towards something like the C8 Corvette, which is much more affordable than this, and it's a track weapon with that Z51 package, and the Z06 hasn't even come out. Or if you said, hey, here's $100,000, you have to stick with Lexus, I'd probably want to go with the LC500 just because that 10-speed automatic with the rev matching downshifting and the top-down experience. Look, it's not going to be as fast as this car. The convertible is like a good 500 to 700 pounds heavier than this, and you can feel it. but it's just a much more immersive experience. You get the crackle and the pops and the revving engine, and the top is down and you're just enjoying the world and, being outside and driving. It's a really magical experience. And the IS500 is going to have the same transmission, same engine, and it's presumably going to be a lot cheaper than the RCF itself. It's hard to recommend this for $100,000 given where it sits in the marketplace. In that sense, the RCF Fuji Speedway Edition is a bit of an outlier in the market, right? So the Europeans have moved on from naturally aspirated V8s, and they're off, twin turbocharging and doing all the things that they do, and they're either this price or a little bit more expensive, and they're much faster. The Americans tend to offer you either equal performance or more performance for less money. So they're kind of on that end, and the RCF is kind of in the middle. It's this naturally aspirated V8, really expensive, semi-luxurious, because again, there's no heated seats. It doesn't have automatic fold-in side mirrors. It doesn't have an automatic trunk. It's missing some of those Lexus things. It's missing the quietness of the Lexus driving experience on just, normal cruising because of the weight reduction. So it's just this interesting thing, and I don't really know who this is for. And in that sense, I don't think the RCF Fuji Speedway Edition is for me personally, even though I really like driving it. I guess I'd say if you're a Lexus completist, if you're a Lexus collector, if you're looking for one of the best naturally aspirated V8s that you can drive today, and something that is reliable and fancy and good looking as this Lexus, I mean, it gets a lot of looks. People are like, what is that thing? Since it's not as popular as Mustangs and Corvettes and all those things. And if you're looking for the best RCF of all time and you didn't get the track edition last year, this is one of 60, limited edition, it might be worth a look for you. I don't really think it's going to be for everyone, and I don't think it's going to be necessary for most people, but for that small niche, I think you could have a lot of fun with it because it's an attractive, quick, and super fun car to drive. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you all are well and safe. Please like, subscribe, share, do all those things you got to do. If you are on our YouTube page, comment down below and let us know what your favorite Lexus is, and let us know what you think of the RCF Fuji Speedway Edition. Is it a $35,000 premium ripoff, or is it an awesome track car? Let me know. Also, feel free to comment if you are on the Club Lexus forums, where we will post a thread with this video and our full review in it. Links in the description below. Cheers, and we'll see you next time.